Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Board of Water and Power regular meeting for December 6th. Barbara, please call the roll.
We have Commissioners Holloman, Moss, Noonan, and Parfait present.
Thank you. This proceeding is broadcast on Channel 35. Please contact Channel 35 for the exact broadcast times. At this time, I'm going to turn the meeting over to the General Manager, Mr. Nichols.
Thank you, Commissioner Holloman. In a moment, we'd like to have a presentation by Aaron Benjamin regarding just what we encountered during the recent windstorm and our response to that. Before we do that, I recognize that we have Councilman Tom LaBonge in the audience here, and he wanted to say a few words. So I would
thank you, Mr.
understand
Nichols.
You're on a tight schedule, Councilman, so we'd love to hear from you.
I appreciate it, Mr. President, members of the Commission, to the audience, to the staff. It was an amazing event of weather. It was an above-ground earthquake, but it truly was remarkable, the work that was done. I saw Randy Howard, he was sitting here, used to be sitting in the Emergency Operations Center with other teams of people, Mr. Benjamin, everybody all around trying to put the city back together in a quick order. I thought your meeting started at 1:30, so I said I'd sneak in here. I wanted to stop by to say thank you for the efforts of the power system and all of Water and Power as we restored the city. And it only is a lesson for us that if it was an earthquake, Mr. McDaniels would be more involved in this from the water side. So the power would always be there. So it's important for preparedness. Thank you, serving as commissioners. And Mr. Nichols, I just personally wanted to thank everybody. Not everybody was happy because you don't know, and it's not a science, and you got to wait, and safety first. Did anybody get hurt?
No.
Nobody got hurt, which is so important. And so this is the key. So, Mr. Benjamin, I thank you. Mr. Nichols, have a good afternoon. Thank you, DWP, for the reaction and the great effort of the windstorm of 2011. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Mr. Nichols.
Thank you. And
Mr. Nichols, I really wanted to say as I walked out on behalf of the constituents of my district, but to all the workers who are out there underground and in the polls, and Mr. Benjamin, and Mr.
You might want to give it another.
well, appreciate very much Councilman LaBonge's comments, because it certainly reflects my own in terms of what I believe our utility did to respond to a storm that was just absolutely not out of the norm. This was not a Santa Ana at all. Actually, it was a very different storm event, the intensity of which we have not seen before, and no question but what it tested our service abilities. I think we responded incredibly well. I think it's important enough, given the size of it and the effort that was undertaken to get our customers back. I wanted to have Aaron Benjamin give us a bit of an overview of that and a few examples of what our crews were encountering, and he'll be able to give, I think, a better, broader view of just the many different parts of the organization that had to respond in order to achieve what we did. So I'll turn that over to Aaron.
Thank you. This event was 1 in 10-year event that was caused by low pressure in the Vegas Valley combined with the high pressure in the Great Basin that created winds up to and crossing 100 miles per hour that came through the city in a different normal patterns. And as you can see the picture there, you can see the outages that was recorded on the city corridor coming off the Angeles Crest Highway towards the city and entered the city from the north, and then created the outages that you can see. Those red dots are about 1,000 customers per dot in there. So in anticipation of this event, when we were forecasting, what was going to happen, the power system has mobilized crews, and we held them over in anticipation of the outages that was going to happen. And about 8 o'clock on November 30th, we went on level alert 2 to bring the power back on. And as the outages was happening, we raised the level to level 3 about midnight that day. The event caused a lot of debris flying into our stations, and widespread outages caused by trees falling into stations and power lines and poles. This is one of the pictures of our receiving station G, which is about 5 miles north of here on Highway 5. You could see the trees coming down on the station and taking out about 50,000 customers with this single event. And the operations was more of a clearing operations rather than power restoration until we get the crews safely into the energized buses, for us to do the electrical restoration work. So there was a lot of cleanup work that happened before we even entered the station to clear the debris from there. So in total, just summarizing the outage, we had about over 300 circuits, full circuits, that were taken out by either faults or some failure in our system. That translated to about 206,000 customers being out at the peak of the event. Within 24 hours, our crews have restored 70% of the customers back. So those were all within the first 24 hours we restored them. But Saturday noon, we've had basically taken care of all the circuits, and we were doing cleanup. By Sunday noon or so, we totally controlled the outage situation, and we were down to about 20 customers out by about Sunday evening. The most affected communities were Venice, Highland Park, Westchester, Playa del Rey, Los Feliz, Boyle Heights, Eagle Rock, El Sereno, and Green Meadows. We had escalated the number of crews to peak about 153 crews. We've brought crews from the northern parts of our systems. We've had backup crews from the electric station maintenance, about 15 additional crews. We've mobilized the entire operation systems of substation operations, and of course we had the support functions from the fleet and also the supply chain. They were also heightened due to the excessive resources that we had on the ground. The two major events that I mentioned, one of them being RSG, which is north of us, and then the other major event that happened was in the west side. We had a receiving station at N that feeds the LA airport, saw an outage due to the faults occurring on the west side. That we've lost 56,000 customers because of that event, and we brought the system back up within about 50 minutes. The system was restored. And as I said, the level 3 was brought back to normal about the evening of Sunday evening, Monday morning. We've gone back to normal, and it was basically scaled back since then.
Great, thank you. On behalf of the board, and certainly you guys can add your comments on your own, and without the flair of Mr. Labange, I'd like to thank all of you for the effort that it took. The customers and their patience obviously was key. The field crews working 16 hours shifts, you're really beyond the pale. The communications piece, the call centers, et cetera. I'm not a big Twitter follower, but I do follow DWP on Twitter, and you were blowing up my Twitter with all the information that you're putting forth. It was really the communication, I think, was key in keeping everybody up to speed on what was happening. Electric trouble, dispatchers, public awareness and safety was really key to making all this happen. So just on behalf of the board, thank you for the work that was done. It's exemplary. Commissioners?
Here. Again, thank you so much, and it was a tremendous effort. I read in the paper that there were some crews that came from out of town to supplement our crews.
We've had Bishop and Mojave Yards. We've had crews shift around, and we've had them come in. We peaked about 153 crews. We usually have about 20 to 30 crews, normal shifts.
Wow, it's impressive. I also read that at Mammoth, they were experiencing winds in excess of 150 miles per hour, and I was wondering how that affected operations in Owens, and I don't know if you could speak to that, Jim.
We didn't have any major outages in the northern end of our system.
Oh. I'm assuming that the Owens Lake may have been a little more emissive than normal during that period.
Probably so.
Yes. Is that a fair conjecture? All right. And have we done some assessments on tree management around some of our distribution stations?
We've constantly do that as part of our regular inspection, and vegetation management is not only regulatory requirement, for us to meet the requirements, but also it's a prudent utility practice, to make sure that when events like this happen, we've had the maintenance levels at a point where we minimize these outages due to trees.
All right. Thank you very much.
Any other comments around the storm?
I just would like to add to everyone else's praise to you and your team. Earlier this month, I had the opportunity to tour ECC with Aram, and his team that's established there. They are so passionate, so knowledgeable, and you just do a really, really wonderful job in that facility. So thank you.
Thank you.
And I would just echo what Mr. Vice President Holman said.
Thank you. Any other comments from you, Mr. Nichols?
Just with respect to that particular item, I had some opportunity to get out in the field and see our crews in action and see what they were dealing with. And to your point, Commissioner Parfrey, we typically tend to look more at vegetative management in terms of clearing trees back and making certain that they don't impinge upon our right-of-way. It's difficult to have a right-of-way cleared when you have 60-foot trees uprooted and blowing over, and that's a lot of what we saw. This was an incredible storm to deal with that put a lot of safety issues for our field crews out there, just working away, getting at the problem so they could even get to the restoration work itself. And the fact that was done, and it was done without an injury, is a great testament to the training of our crews, to the management of them, and the spirit with which they undertook that work. And our hat is off to them. A couple of other items I'd like to speak to. One, not for discussion today. We don't have anything before you today, but we're changing our budget preparation cycle in response to Measure J last year that requires us to get our budgets filed more early, to get them filed in line with the city's own budget. So we will be coming back to you right after the first of the year, right in January, with not only next year's fiscal year 12-13 budget, but also an update to the balance of this current fiscal year budget, recognizing kind of where we are in our rate consideration as well. And you'll recollect that back in the summer we discussed a zero rate adjustment budget for this year, and in effect that's where we are right now. So we want to update you with regard to where we are, what that means, and then cumulatively what that means going forward into the subsequent years. So just we'll let you know that that's coming next month. And I know it's an issue that's had a lot of discussion. There's been a fair amount of discussion about this in the media as well lately on the ratepayer advocate and the timing with respect to that. I thought, in case it wasn't clear, to just give you an update of the status on that. It is moving along. Of course, the City Council last August created a citizens committee. The citizens committee moved forward quickly. They have been meeting almost weekly for a few months now. They retained a recruiting firm to work with city personnel to flesh out the position requirements and to describe the position itself, as well as lay out some basic criteria for selecting them. So they've used that, they've applied that, they have closed off their application process as of last Friday, December 2nd. And they are now, I think, in receipt of north of 45 applications. They're sorting through those to get that down to a short list, with the expectation of interviews happening right after the first of the year to get a recommendation to City Council sometime. Hopefully their target is in the middle of January. And then ultimately, sometimes it isn't clear. Sometimes I've been asked, what is the department doing about that selection that isn't this commission's action? It's not my action. It is the council's action, and they will have, presumably, if the Citizens Committee gets through that schedule, then it would be before the council sometime in January for them to act. So that's just the latest on that.
Thank you.
And that's all I have for the general manager's report.
Item 3 are comments or requests from commissioners relating to DWP operations. I know that Commissioner Noonan has a comment.
Thank you. I actually have two requests. Mr. Parkley mentioned earlier CIS, and I'd like to get an update on the upgrade of CIS. I understand that some people are concerned about the substantial investment that we've made, and that potentially our long-term software infrastructure may not be aligned with the program as it stands now. So if you could shed some clarity on that issue, I'd appreciate it.
Okay.
And I also received the letter from you, Mr. Nichols, dated December 5th, about my request about finding out more information about our contracting with U.S. Pipe.
Yes.
And over $120 million in contracts have been executed between U.S. Pipe and DWP. And it's not so much that figure that concerns me, although it does stand out. What concerns me is the footnote that states that it may not, that the chart may not include all of the contracts that have been executed, quote unquote, because because some records may not be available to be retained. And I think that that's very disconcerting. I have a hard time believing that, in that if we did have issues with that kind of pipe and we needed, for insurance reasons, to go back to trace the materials that were used in a project, I would imagine that we would be able, hopefully, to find out who the supplier was. So I would like a more comprehensive chart provided. I don't know.
Pardon me?
No. And in an effort just to support transparency within the department as promised to the ratepayers, I suggest we investigate the procurement process with this particular vendor. I want to make sure that there was a healthy and competitive process in place for the past 20 years. As I requested previously, I asked during the last $43 million contract that was executed with U.S. Pipe in November, why 24 entities downloaded our RFP, and yet we only submitted the bid from U.S. Pipe. So I would like information as to whether or not those 24 entities were contacted, and I would like information about who was contacted and the reason why they decided not to bid on that RFP as well as other RFPs. I also would like information as to who else manufactures ductile iron pipe, and information as to whether or not we've used competitors of U.S. Pipe in the past, and if so, when, and information about those contracts. And I also would like information, since you are going back to these contracts, I'd like to understand if there were more than, I'd like to know the bidders who bid on the work. I want to assess whether or not there was a historical trend of entities not bidding on the work because they believe it's going to go to U.S. Pipe anyway. And I hope that you understand that this request is made respectfully, but really out of, I feel, a duty as a commissioner to the ratepayers. I want to ensure that there's a healthy competitive process in place, not only with this contract, but with all major contracts that we execute.
We'll be glad to get that information together for you. As to the latter item, in terms of the reasons for bidding, we can, or declining to bid, we can ask for what they'll tell us. And, you know, we can only determine from what they tell us as to why they did or not, and how forthcoming they'll be. I honestly don't know. Sometimes parties just don't tell you, but we will certainly report back what we hear. And I know that we did do a review of some level of that, but we'll get you a deeper drill down on it.
I appreciate it. I just would like some clear, comprehensive historical data, and I would like information about that footnote, because I just have a very difficult time understanding how certain records with multi-million-dollar contracts would not be retained and available to the current board or whether or not a contract was executed a year ago or 15 years ago. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other commissioners with comments?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Holloman. I understand that DWP's commercial solar rebates are almost spent for the rest of this year, and that could result in a suspension of DWP commercial solar applications until next July. It's also my understanding that there may be other opportunities for funding. The LA Times recently reported that the state of California has $9 billion in state bonds available for job-creating infrastructure and construction projects. So in addition to a report back on the status of the solar funds, I am also interested in hearing back on how DWP staff might be trying to access the state bonds to fund its solar projects, and if they are pursuing that strategy. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 4 is public comment. Barbara, I believe we have 2.
I have 3 speakers right now. The first speaker is Terry Robinson.
I assume I stand here. This is the first time I've been here, so I'm very impressed. Thank you very much for having this. And I am studying to be having my own business in solar energy. And one thing is, I live in an apartment, and I hear a lot about how work was done in Mar Vista to put it on houses. Houses are very simple. It's one owner, and that's all you deal with. I understand that there's a lot going on with businesses, but I never hear about apartment buildings. So I am very interested in having this happen. I am working on setting up a meeting this coming January with Mr. Nichols and whoever else will be coming, who are inviting and so forth. So I just wanted to make this announcement to make it clear that apartments need to be considered as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Dr. Tom Williams.
Dr. Tom Williams, LA 32 Neighborhood Council in El Sereno, out the window here. Strategic plan. Didn't we have one time? What was the strategic plan's provisions for outages? Were there any? I don't know, because we haven't seen much of the strategic plan anymore after a couple years of other people dealing with it. We do have deferred maintenance. Is this a policy of the board? We do also have a policy that there is no organization chart for the Department of Water and Power that's publicly accessible, except for maybe the directories on each of the floors. So we'd like to have a public, accessible, on perhaps the web page, organization chart, so that we can know who to call and when. So there's several things like that. Deferred maintenance. It's always a problem. If I had chosen not to do my tree trimming 3 weeks ago, we might have lost another outage line. But I took down a tree because the tree branches were getting up to the level of the power line. So I knew if it fell over, it would take out the power line. So we took off the branches. Easy. This is not rocket science. If this is the way that we're going to deal with a wind event, what happens when we get a 6.5 earthquake in the same areas? We have a lot of problems in Northeast LA, Pasadena, and South Pasadena. But the first one is, how do we operate to begin with, even under normal conditions? If there's no strategic plan for a $6 billion company, there's a real problem there. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the next speaker is Tony Wilkinson.
Tony Wilkinson, Neighborhood Council, Department of Water and Power, Memorandum of Understanding Oversight Committee. I want to chime in with the commissioners and Councilmember LaBonge, thanking everybody for the tremendous address with the extra crews when we had our windstorm. And particularly what I'd like to do is to point out that this is an opportunity for the public to appreciate their Department of Water and Power. Yes, people are upset if their lights are out, but because largely of the good public relations from this department, the tweets and the emails that kept everybody up to date, it helped everybody out there understand the magnitude of the response that the department was taking. So I think it was a tremendous example of what we can do to improve the public image of the department by being affirmative like this. And also, the general manager said that the department is looking at this typical response to find ways that they can more customize responses to the public. So I'm very proud of the way the department responded to this. I think it's helped us a lot with the public. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Okay, that was the last card for number 4.
All right, which takes us to items for approval, discussion not required. In addition to items 5 through 12, I'd like to add to the consent calendar 13, 14, 15, 16, 18, 20, 22, and 29, and ask for a motion on those.
I move to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? So those items carry unanimously, which takes us to items for approval and discussion. And in this section, I'd like to move or take item 25 out of order and hear that one now.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Did you want to hear the public speakers first, or the...
Let's go to public speakers on 25 first, and then we'll go to presentation.
Okay, so the public speakers for item number 25, the first
And then
speaker.
also, as with the special meeting, the comments, public comment going forward is 1 minute as opposed to 2.
Okay. So the first public speaker is Jill Sorrell, and after that, Ann Nugent.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you for taking my testimony. And before I start, I just want to add my thanks to Councilman LaBonge on behalf of our constituents for all the quick response regarding the power outages. And with that, I will move on to item 25. You should have before you a letter on behalf of the councilman. If not, I have some extra copies that I can pass around. And just to summarize the letter, it no? Would you like?
Yeah, they should. I passed them out. They should be there.
Should be there? Oh, I see it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Just to summarize it, it addresses some concerns about the relationship between any rate action for water quality compliance and future decisions that will be before you regarding the Elysian Park Reservoir in the First Council District. There has been a 20-year community process regarding this reservoir, and it will be culminating soon in the selection of a preferred alternative and certification of their final EIR. The reservoir in Elysian Park is not addressed in this rate action, and we would like to make sure that there's ongoing discussion regarding the impacts of the decision for this project. This reservoir is the only one that is located on Department of Recreation and Parks property, and we feel strongly that it merits careful consideration as the impacts of each alternative are considered. These alternatives range from a floating cover to buried tanks for water storage. And the buried tanks are the only option at this point that provide the needed open space in the park. So I want to thank you for your time as you go through the discussion on the water quality compliance. I'm happy to answer any questions, and we look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Ann Nugent.
Good afternoon. My name is Ann Nguyen with the Central City Association. First, I'd like to begin by thanking Ron Nichols and his staff for bringing this to our attention early and allowing our voice to be brought into this important discussion. We represent some of the city's largest property owners, and slight rate increases on both the water and power side equate to millions of dollars for increased costs for our members. We were very involved with the ECAF debate early last year, and as the business community steward on these issues, we are tasked to find that delicate balance between managing the financial hardship that rate increases impose, but also giving the agency the means to continue operating and providing services to our communities. In this instance, we understand that the agency has no choice but to meet its legal obligations. We support the proposed structural change to the water quality adjustment factor cap, subject to some slight provisions. It's conditional upon a review by PA Consulting prior to action by the City Council, and the Department of Water and Power should not move forward with a larger increase than what is recommended by PA Consulting. Finally, the rate increase must be subject to review and adjustment by the ratepayer advocate. In the past, we've been very vocal and critical about LADWP's tendency to propose rate increase in a closed universe. However, this time around, we've had a fair opportunity to weigh the pros and cons. Nobody is excited about this, but it's justified in our opinion. Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Isa K. Mexon, and after that, Marion Sue.
Just reverse, the co-chair of the Citizens Committee to Save Elysian Park is here. Could she go first ahead, please?
Okay, who is that?
That would be Sally Neubauer.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you for this opportunity to speak before you again about Elysian Reservoir. With regards to this proposed increase, I notice on page 2 it does list specific projects, including $40 million for Silver Lake Reservoir Bypass Tunnel, and including $230 million for Headworks Reservoir. Now, these are both Silver Lake projects, so that brings the total for Silver Lake to $270 million. Elysian is not even considered in this package, and I would like to know why. Elysian deserves $110 million if Silver Lake deserves $270. Elysian is the only reservoir that's in a park. When you are considering raising rates to address the issues of fixing the water quality program, Elysian must be considered, because the only thing that has been derailing Elysian all this time has been money. There was an editorial in the LA Times over the weekend that basically said the rate increase that you're proposing now that would cover this package without Elysian pretty much is $1.75 a day. Or did it say a day? I think it may have said $1.75 a month for a regular household. I think it was a month. Certainly people can afford another 50 cents for Elysian, and that's what I'm asking you to consider. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Isa K. Mexon, and after that, Marion Sue.
Well, as you know, this has been a 20-year discussion about these closures of reservoirs for water quality. I consider this a matter of environmental justice. We are in an area which is park poor, even though Elysian is quite large. We will be getting 14 acres of additional recreation and passive use if the project the community wants is funded. I don't mind paying taxes when I know the general good is being represented. This is a project that will last for years, and not to have this dreadful Mickey Mouse solution, and I shouldn't insult Mickey Mouse, to have a solution that's viable for our community. So when you make a rate increase, absolutely you must include the kind of project which we have been fighting for 20 years. And the city will have a glorious park, and not that dreadful color.
Okay. The next speaker is Marion Sue, and after that, Dr. Tom Williams.
I'm Marion Sue, and a member of the Citizens Committee to Save Elysian Park, and a resident of Los Angeles for over 60 years. There was a unanimous decision of the of the prior board to have buried tanks with a recreation area above. Los Angeles is park poor and the community needs space for recreation. We will be extremely disappointed that after over 20 years of mitigation, the community will not have additional parkland, and they will have instead an ugly plastic cover at the reservoir area. So I'm hoping that you will take this under consideration because we do need the parkland. Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Dr. Tom Williams, and after that, Tony Wilkinson.
Dr. Tom Williams, LA 32 Neighborhood Council, El Sereno. The R word, we're back always to the R word. Every utility has the R word. It's not replacement, it's rates. So why do we call it adjustment factors? It confuses things. It's a rate increase. Now, you pay for what you get. If you don't pay as much, you don't get as much. We've had some special events, hopefully not an earthquake soon, but every time you have a rate, you need to pay for it. You need to have the money to do the protection, to do the maintenance, to do the replacement of pipes. What will happen if the rates aren't increased for replacement of pipes? It's a very simple thing. All it has to do is 4 times the amount of money that you're going to project for this year? No, 8 times. Because you're at a 400-year replacement cycle or more, 40,000, 45,000 versus 380,000. Rates have to reflect the cost of doing the business. If they don't, you go out of business. We have a big city. That's an unfortunate part, but we have a big population, and we need to pay our way. So full cost recovery, I'm all for it. But let's make sure that the systems that we have built remain operational, as some of them did during the wind event and some of the earlier earthquakes. Without pipe replacement, without transformer replacement, we're just living on the edge, and it's commonly called a bleeding edge. Thank you.
Next speaker is Tony Wilkinson.
Tony Wilkinson, Neighborhood Council MOU Chair. The water quality adjustment factor is intended to cover items that are beyond the department's control. If I'm correct, it has been our expenditures in water quality have exceeded the cap amount for something like 6 years. And all the items being discussed have been before the public for a long time. I think it's high time that this particular adjustment factor was changed. However, I do also believe that it should only cover items that are essential to water quality. And any additional expenditures in Elysian specifically, if they're to be made, I do not believe that they should be included in a water quality adjustment factor, which is only for essential expenditures. Thank you.
Okay, that was the last card for this item. That closes the public comment period.
Thank you. Staff presentation on 25.
Thank you. We have placed, as a utility, we have placed basically all of our programs on a reduced budget. We have been cutting back many programs. We have withheld and deferred a number of expenditures. We've continued to reduce our hires of those who have left the department. And we continue to cut back on outside services in order to maintain our budget levels where we need to. We are working closely with City Council on the issue of the ratepayer advocate. And
I'm sorry, Mr. Nichols, did you distribute that copy to the board members?
Well, I thought they were distributed.
I don't have a copy.
I don't think we have it.
It's unfortunate.
Okay, which?
But we could follow along on the screen.
Follow up there. We'll see if we can get you copies made while we're sitting here, because this will be a little bit of information we'll be going through. I think it'd be helpful. I apologize. I thought it had been handed out to you. And but the point is that we're working with the council on deferring everything we can to make certain that we can wait until the ratepayer advocate is on board. But the one item that we can't is in the area of compliance with our Safe Drinking Water Quality Compliance Plan that's established by the U.S. EPA and then administered by Department of Public Health. And Jim McDaniel is going to go over this, head of our water system, is going to go through this in some detail. We actually have encountered, I don't know, most people would recognize that actually their water rates have been declining every quarter for the last 5 quarters. And as a result, water bills are down and water revenue is down. Some of that is due to purchased water, some is due to other investments that we haven't made that in turn don't drive up some of our other adjustment factors that might otherwise increase rates. And they go up and down with our costs. And Jim will get into that a little bit as will Ann Santilli as we get into some more detail. So what we are proposing, what we're going to discuss with you here today, is a proposal for consideration by the board to increase the water quality rate factor, which funds these compliance programs by 35 cents per billing unit. That's 35 cents per 100 cubic foot. Even with this adjustment and adding that to our current rates, we would still be lower than last year's rates. So it's an unusual circumstance to be able to do that. What I'd like to do is turn it over to Jim to provide some background for you on this, describe where the dollars are going to, what is and is not included in this factor, and then Ann Santilli, our CFO, will go through and explain some of the revenue and rate considerations and implications of that. I'll turn it over to Jim. Thanks.
Okay. So as Ron said, the primary and really the only driver for this rate action is our water quality, our Safe Drinking Water program. We are required to meet safe drinking water standards, specifically 2 rules that are part of the Safe Drinking Water Act, which are the disinfection and disinfectant byproducts rule and the long-term 2 enhanced surface water treatment rule. Specifically on the long-term 2 enhanced surface water treatment rule, we are 2.5 years into a compliance agreement that'll have by the end of it, it'll have a 20-year life, and part of that compliance agreement has very specific requirements for us to deal with our open reservoirs in the water distribution system. And it's important to note that these are reservoirs that contain water that has already been treated by our treatment plant, and that goes, once they leave the reservoir, it goes directly to our customers' taps. So it's imperative that we maintain the highest quality water here, because this is, going directly to the customers. What the projects to comply with these 2 rules entail are the covering, bypassing, and in some cases building whole new reservoirs. Our LA reservoir, we're actually have negotiated a treatment option, a special one-of-a-kind treatment option that we think are going to save our customers probably almost $300 million over a more conventional type covering solution. But we also need to change the disinfectant that we are using in our distribution system. Currently, we use chlorine in much of our distribution system, and part of our strategy for compliance with the disinfection and disinfectants byproducts rule, or the shorthand for that is the DBP rule, is to change from chlorine to chloramine, which is a combination of chlorine and ammonia. Chloramine is a very common drinking water disinfectant. The Metropolitan Water District uses chloramines throughout their entire system. We use chloramines currently in the East LA area of the city, as well as in the harbor. Converting from chlorine to chloramine will allow us to reduce our disinfection byproducts, and it also has the added benefits of allowing us to freely take Metropolitan water throughout our system, and there's already quite a infrastructure that Metropolitan has built, mostly with City of LA taxpayer dollars, that we will now be able to access by having the same kind of disinfectants. And we have a number of smaller improvements that we have to do throughout our distribution system to comply with our ongoing requirements. So on the reservoir improvements, we've invested over $400 million to date on reservoirs. When we initially started with our first compliance agreement with the Department of Public Health, we had 10 reservoirs. The first 4 of those were reservoirs that actually had surface water flowing into the reservoirs. That was the Upper and Lower Hollywood reservoirs, Encino Reservoir and Lower Stone Canyon. We got those dealt with first. That left 6 reservoirs that are part of the current compliance agreement. Of those 6, we've covered Santa Ynez Reservoir recently. We got that one done, so there are 5 reservoirs remaining in order for us to comply with our safe drinking water standards. And the picture there is a picture of Santa Ynez as they were constructing the floating cover on Santa Ynez Reservoir located in Pacific Palisades. Our compliance date, as I mentioned, in the compliance agreement, we have very specific deadlines for having each of these open reservoirs removed from service, and that's the basic compliance milestone for us, is they need to have the open reservoir removed from service. And that could mean having the reservoir covered, because then it's no longer an open reservoir. It's considered, you could bypass the reservoir, then it's removed from service. You could replace it and disconnect it from the system. So you can see the deadlines that we have coming up at us. Silver Lake is the most upcoming one, December of 2013. Ivanhoe, which is the sister reservoir to Silver Lake, they're right together, but they do operate as 2 separate reservoirs, so that has a slightly later date, and there are slightly different strategies for dealing with those, and I can go into that in a minute. Then after that, we have the Upper Stone Canyon Reservoir, the Elysian Reservoir, a little bit farther down the road, and then our final compliance date is for Los Angeles Reservoir up in the Sylmar area. So in order to reach compliance with these, we've got a number of contracts that need to be awarded within the next 12 months. We've got, and the contracts are a little over $550 million, and we have some work that's being done with our own folks, and when you add it all together, it approaches $600 million just here in the next year or so. The one that's coming up, and it's actually the first phase of this is on today's agenda, is our Headworks Reservoir. Ultimately, Headworks will be a $230 million project, and we are bringing the first contract to the board today to award the beginning of that. We will need to phase that contract in, and we can talk more about that when we get to that contract item later on the agenda, because we do not have the rates in place to fund the full $230 million. You can see also there we have the shade balls for the LA Reservoir. That's part of the innovative treatment and partial cover solution. UV treatment is part of that solution for LA Reservoir. And then the Silver Lake Bypass Tunnel, and then 2 of the pipe projects that will allow us to take Silver Lake and Ivanhoe out of service. Basically, what we're doing with Silver Lake Ivanhoe is you've got about an 800 million gallon storage reservoir there, and we're going to be replacing it with a combination of a smaller reservoir called Headworks, which will be about 110 million gallons, and then additional pipeline capacity. And the combination of the additional pipeline capacity and the smaller storage reservoir kind of replaces the function of the larger Silver Lake Ivanhoe complex. The key thing about the projects that we're asking today are, these are the projects that are coming up in the next year or so. As Ron said, if we had a choice on this, we'd probably be putting this rate action off until the whole thing was well behind the ratepayer advocate. But we have certain things that are coming up, and we've limited what we're asking the board to approve to just those things that we feel have to be done right now. There are other projects, the Elysian project, the Upper Stone Canyon, but those will not have to be funded. We won't have to award contracts on those until after a time we feel that we can have a rate action that's had adequate time to be reviewed by the ratepayer advocate. So that's why those projects aren't listed here. These projects are listed because the time frames that we have per the compliance agreement dictate that we have to award contracts at these times.
I'm sure there's a logical response to this, but the deadline for LA is March 2022?
Correct.
And we're buying shade balls now?
Yes. The ultimate, and that has to do with the fact that we've got both the long-term 2 enhanced surface water treatment rule that requires the covering or treatment of the reservoir, but we also have the disinfection byproducts rule. So the shade balls are not so much chasing the overall compliance with the enhanced surface water treatment rule, but we need to have the reservoir shaded in order to convert the system to chloramines, because we have a 2014 deadline for a chloramine conversion. So, and it's kind of a two-part, it's kind of a double benefit. You get both the treated reservoir, but we also have the ability to convert to chloramines.
So chloramines don't do well in sunlight?
Chloramines do not do well in sunlight. They are a very resilient disinfectant. They last a long time in the system, but they degrade quickly in sunlight, and because you do have a component, nitrogen component, the ammonia is nitrogen, which is basically food for algae. When you expose chloraminated reservoirs to sunlight, you get algae blooms very quickly. So that's why we can't have chloraminated open reservoirs. Just this last slide that I'll cover, and then I'll turn it over to Ann to go over the details of the rate proposal, just shows you what we have coming up in the next 4 years. We've got basically the largest water quality capital costs in LADWP history. For us, it's an unprecedented spend rate, and it's a lot of huge projects that we have coming up. It's about $1.1 billion over the next 5 years. As I said, right now we're looking at a chunk of that. We're looking at about $600 million of that, and these are expenditure costs, and most of this will be bonded going forward. So we will be selling water revenue bonds to pay for this that will have probably 30-year maturities, and so the rates that we're asking for aren't to pay the exact costs of these going out, because it won't generate nearly enough money to pay the hundreds of millions of dollars in the next few years, but it will allow us to borrow the money and then service the debt over time. And that's a good segue to Ann's part.
So as the general manager mentioned, rates have been going down over the last 5 quarters. The largest rate component is our purchased water, which is this year compared to last year is going down 9.4%. Also, our water conservation and recycling is going down another 3%. So even with this rate adjustment on water quality, which is basically increasing the water quality cap by 35 cents, customers will see a reduction of approximately 6.3% in their bill for fiscal year 11-12 compared to 10-11. If you turn to the next slide, you can see some examples of some of the customer bill impacts. About 52% of our customers use about 12 billing units per month of water. So they're actually, this fiscal year, with this rate adjustment, we'll see a $4.18 reduction. Some of the higher family usage ones will see a little closer to $7 per month. So this is some examples as to show that with this water quality rate adjustments, customers will still see a lower impact this year, and the rate increase for the next year, leaving this in place, will be minimal for customers. Basically, under the 12 HCF per month, there'll be less than $1.50.
And I'd just like to put an emphasis on that point. You know, we are funding hundreds of millions of dollars of expenditures that will be then capitalized and spread over a 30-year period of time. We would like, again, if there was a way that we would not have to come and present you with having to adjust this and increase this factor and increase the net rates today, we would like not to. But at the end of the day, it is less than $1.50 per month for our average customer, and for those who are using twice as much as our average, it's less than $3 a month to hit one of the items that we simply don't have discretion over. This is an item that we have to take an action on, and just want to make sure that we do have the unique ability that in this year it's actually lower cost, but going forward, based on an average water year, that's what we would be looking at, this kind of an increase.
Mr. Nichols, since this water quality adjustment does not cover the repayment of the $1.1 billion in quality projects that the department needs to undertake, would you clarify which ones it does cover? And would we be looking at further adjustments to fund the rest of this major program?
Yes, it covers. If you can flip back real quick to page 6 there.
It basically covers the expenditures we're going to have to make within the next 18 months.
Yeah, but the project,
Yes.
those projects, and then the later projects, anything beyond the next effectively September of next year. Pretty much September 2012 is our expenditures. It's about $600 million all in. So then when we get on to issues like Stone Canyon, Elysian Park, and the balance of LA Reservoir, all of those items will be additional dollars, and we will be back talking with the board again, but that will be sometime in 2013.
Well, what is the total amount that this increase would be? How much is it going to generate over the next, say, 12 months or 24 months?
For this year, it'll generate about $39 million. For next fiscal year, it's about $74 million. And basically what this is going to do is allow us to service the debt to go out and finance these projects.
So it affects our debt-covered service ratios?
Correct.
And will it cover all the debt service associated with that borrowing?
Just for this borrowing, but not the full $1.1 billion.
Okay.
So on the next slide, you can see that our system average rate for fiscal year 10-11 was $3.83. With this rate increase, customers will have a system average rate of $3.59. We do need an ordinance change to do this, and what we're asking is to increase the water quality cap by 35 cents from 50 cents to 85 cents, remove the water quality quarterly adjustment factor of the limit of 6 cents, and then because water quality is embedded in the Tier 2 water rate, increase the Tier 2 rate by 35 cents so that customers who are using Tier 2 are paying the same rate increase as Tier 1.
So the action, in terms of the timing of actions for the final approval of this, we're asking you to vote for approval on this action here today. The City Council then needs to confirm your action, and that's slated for their consideration in January. You may have heard that last Friday, City Council voted to extend the contract for and expand on the contract for PA Consulting, their independent consultant that reviews our water and power rates. And as part of that was for their review of this specific action on the water quality adjustment factor. So they are actively undertaking that review. We anticipate then that they will have, PA Consulting will present their independent assessment to the council before council acts. The ratepayer advocate will then, the timing is such that it's probably, if everything went as planned, they would actually at least have selected a ratepayer advocate by then, but not anticipating that they would have a review. And this is there is a time factor here on this. But nevertheless, everything that we provide going forward on our water rates, and this is not the only thing we're going to be coming to you with. If you recall back to our summer of meetings, workshops that we've held, public meetings on our water and our power rates, there are a number of factors, a number of other costs and expenditures that do have upward pressure on our rates that will need to be addressed. The ratepayer advocate will review that, and we anticipate they would review that in line with this factor as well and take into account the totality of both this action and any additional items, and making their ultimate review and input into the council, and of course this board, and the council will have the benefit of looking at that as well. But again, the reason that we're here today is because we need to have the funding necessary for phase 2 of the Headworks project, and that major contract will be back before you in March, and the approval of this and the confirmation of this by City Council would then allow us to have the funding necessary to you have the comfort that we could award that contract. So with that, be happy to open up for any questions.
I think the idea of tiered rates is so that it drives customer behavior. So that if you're you're miserly with your water use, you don't pay as much as someone who's profligate with their water use. And however, from what I understand from your presentation is that the second tier is going to be on par with the first tier, so that pricing mechanism and changing customer behavior there won't be any effect. So could you elaborate on that?
Well, I think the idea is until there's a rate restructure is to at least have the same cost that we're passing to Tier 1 customers be applied to Tier 2 as well. But I think the goal of the future is to break Tier 2 and Tier 2 apart and have multiple tiers and have all pass-throughs be added to each tier, whereas right now purchased water and water quality are embedded in the base rate of the Tier 2. So I think going forward, when we go back for a rate change, it will be a more restructured rate approach so that there's a better conservation message.
This is purely an interim measure.
Correct.
All right. And then,
Commissioner, we currently do have a fairly substantial, I was trying to look it up, it's between $1.50 and a $2 differential between Tier 1 and Tier 2. And all we're doing here is the increase is the same to both, but the differential will still be maintained. We're not closing the gap at all with it.
All right, thank you for that clarification. I appreciate that. And then when it comes to the PA consulting report, may I ask who's paying for that PA work? Is the council paying for that, or is DWP?
It is reimbursed by the department, which in turn becomes part of the revenue requirement, which in turn ultimately gets paid by our customers.
And has that come before us in the form of a contract? I don't recall seeing a PA consulting contract related to assessing the water rates.
I don't believe it has. I think it's gone through council for their approval, and would come over to us. I'd say PA was originally contracted by the City Council for a review for a timeline that was anticipated to have been done and wrapped up the process by now. That process has been extended. This has been modified, and as a result, kind of the rules of the game for their review certainly have changed, just as the timing for our internal analysis and the amount of staff time has changed. So I think it's only reasonable that they be there. I think it's unreasonable to anticipate that an outside consultant is going to perform additional work beyond their original contracted scope for free. So I think all in, it's not unreasonable level of increase for that contract to provide the comfort of an independent review by council.
Oh, okay. Jim, I just want to... Oh, Jim.
Can we talk about the tiers?
I want to clarify something. So this adjustment has nothing to do then with any deferred maintenance issues or replacement of pipes or anything along those lines. Is that correct?
That is correct. Those items will need to be addressed in a subsequent action that can be reviewed by the ratepayer advocate.
Okay, so it's your intention to, because that's kind of a water quality issue as well. I mean, if pipes are breaking.
It is. I mean, we have reduced the level of pipe replacement, which we cannot sustain on a long-term basis. We need to get that back up, but we felt that for this one-year period as a kind of a necessary evil in order to get us the time, buy us some time so that we get the ratepayer advocate on board and they could review you know, there's a lot of questions at what rate should you review pipe, and I think the ratepayer advocate would want to weigh in on that. So, yes, we are holding that until the ratepayer advocate's on board.
And then the other thing I just wanted to clarify is, and I think it was raised before, but I want to just make sure that it's real clear, is that this adjustment is intended to be an interim solution for the specific problem of these contracts, and that as part of the overall look of our rate structure, that this will get factored in. So in other words, we're not approving something for you know, going to 85 cents for the end of days for all ratepayers, no matter what happens. Is that correct?
Well, kind of yes and no. Yes, it's an interim solution. It establishes it funds, as we described earlier, it funds a portion of our water quality capital investment program, and it's established out there as intended to be a long-term payment, and we anticipate it's basically covering a 30-year repayment of debt service of the portion that we finance over that period of time. Going back to my earlier comment, in terms of review of that, certainly the ratepayer advocate can weigh in as to whether they think that we have appropriately identified those costs, and separate as can, you know, the commission later on, and can take a look at those costs along with the incremental additional costs that we'll be coming back to talking with you about with respect to things such as more pipe replacement, funding more water conservation, ramping back up to our recycled water and stormwater capture programs. But that 85 cents is a long-term commitment, and that 85 cents does not pay for all of that $1.1 million of programs for water quality compliance.
Does also cleaning up the groundwater in the San Fernando Valley enable us to use that as an underground reservoir then in the future?
It does. I mean, we're using it now, but the amount by which we can use that is threatened by the continuing migration of plumes of industrial solvents and other contamination in the reservoir and in the aquifer. And cleaning that aquifer up will enable us to gain a larger portion of that, as well as make it logical for us to capture more storm water to put in that reservoir and potentially put recycled water in that reservoir. We don't want to be putting additional water into that reservoir and only to get it contaminated so we can't use it. So there is a sequence of events there. I don't know, Jim, if you want to.
No, describe it well. And the differential between Tier 1 and Tier 2 is $2.50, and that will be maintained.
And that will stay the same?
Yeah.
Okay. Great. I'd like to, at this time...
I do need to make a little announcement for this one.
Please.
That, just to note that on the resolution, in the third paragraph near the end, the word cents, C-E-N-T-S, needs to be deleted.
With that in mind, I move to approve item 25.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Carries unanimously. So that'll take us back to taking items for discussion in order. And I believe item 17, Barbara, is next.
Yes, item 17.
Do we have a card on 17?
No cards for 17.
Is there a staff conversation on 17? Aaron?
So, Commissioners, if I can describe this package in front of you is requesting your approval to allow us to request an ordinance change that will basically allow us to enter into a long-term power purchase agreement on these feed-in tariff contracts as we get ready to launch the pilot program, as we discussed last board meeting. The 10-megawatt pilot program is going to come in front of you for approval, but this request is purely for requesting an ordinance change that will allow the department to enter into these agreements without going back to the board or to the council every time we have these contracts, and also having the board delegate that authority to our general manager to sign these contracts. We're going to have hundreds of these coming up as we go through the the feed-in tariff period. I'm just summarizing what this package does and what doesn't do. What this package doesn't do is set pricing. It's set the megawatts. It's set the standard offer agreements. Those are all going to be coming to you as part of the approval process. This is purely putting some framework around the request for us to go up to 150 megawatts and setting a price about 300 megawatts per $300 per megawatt hour as a limit for entering into these agreements. And then those details will be coming to you later as far as approval of the budget, the standard form, the megawatts as we move forward, the schedule, and everything else that we've talked about.
Thank you.
We'll, when we consider the full-on program, there's been a lot of public comment about that the 75 megawatts is too low and that we should go higher. Will we have an opportunity to review that at that time after you've done your pilot program?
Yes. But once we're done with the pilot program, last time we went over the principles and some of the things we're going to be achieving at the end of the pilot program. We're going to come back with all the lessons learned and also adjusting, and then we're going to come back to you with a recommendation of the framework to take us from the 10 to the 75 or whatever limits this board allows us to go up to, and that will open up the larger program for us moving ahead. But all those details are coming in the Q1 of next year. We're going to come to you with the details of the standard offers, and we've gotten a lot of feedback from the community outreach that we've done as far as simplifying the contract, and you've heard some comments today, simplifying the contracts, making it more easy to access, reducing some of the cost of entry, and all those things will be included in our policy recommendation to you.
Mr. Parfait?
I know that there are 2 staff members from City Council in attendance, and so I think it might be a good idea to do a presentation, if that's possible. I want to make sure that we're coordinating with Council if we're asking them to act on an ordinance.
So just as I described, this is an authorization for us to go and request the City Council to adopt a change that will allow us, an ordinance change that will allow us to enter into agreement, and that first page described that concept. This is not approving any of the feed-in tariff program that we've talked about. This page is the objectives. We've covered this in details on several meetings, but basically the test pilot is going to be testing the application process, the project selection criteria, whether it's a large project, a small project, the location, the contract terms, the interconnection processes. We also have to do some internal staffing review and process on our side to make sure that we're setting it up just like we've done it on the SB1 program, for us to be able to give access to the participants to enter into the system and look at the information. We also want to do, this is a critical one, is the price discovery point between the supply and the demand and everything else that we've talked about. Is how we set that pricing is going to be something that we want to learn from the pilot phase in order for us to come up with the best mechanism for us to set that criteria for us to move forward. The outreach that we've done, this is a listing of everything Mike and his team has done out there starting March of this year all the way to November 2nd, the presentations and the input that we've gotten from the public and the policymakers. These are the principles that we've talked about, and we could re-emphasize that the number one thing in our minds are the reliability of the system. As we set this thing for the long haul, this program, we want to make sure that our system reliability is not compromised, and those are also lessons learned that we want to come up with at the end of the pilot program. The cost effectiveness is something that we want to address. The dependability of the applications coming in is something that we want to build into our process to make sure we don't have projects that are just kind of clogging the queue sitting in our system without really implementing it. So we want to encourage the applicants as they put in the request for interconnections and also put put the project in there, that they show some progress, some good faith progress as far as getting the projects built, and we want to see megawatts on the ground. We want to make sure that this is a long-term program, that we don't have starts and stops. And we want to make sure that all the lessons learned that we have, we will put it out there, and we will refine the program as we move forward. So those are our principles that we want to get out of the pilot program. This is some of the things that we've heard from the public, saying that reduce your application and interconnection study fees. Some input was given that this is a high hurdle for applicants to cross. We've looked at that. Return the application fee for those that hadn't been selected was a request that we've gotten, and limit for a total of 2 megawatts, a single energy provider to 2 megawatts was the upper limit that we've heard that we should set. The capacity, the definition of a small versus large, and the way we treat these different groups was something that we've heard, and we want to address that. Simplify the application process. Some comments was made, reduce it to 5 pages, 7 pages. We want to make sure it's simple to follow, and also something that's very user-friendly. The compliance forms, for LA City, simplify those with all the policy requirements that we have. And we heard that, and we will incorporate those in there. This is the proposed the ordinance that we are requesting, to go in and request the authority to enter into these agreements with the limit that I discussed, the 150 megawatts upper limit and the $300 per megawatt hour limit on the pricing, and the authority will be handed to our general manager to enter into these agreements as we move forward. And then at the limit, basically, we will come back and revise the ordinance to allow us to go higher than that. This is the schedule on Q1. We want to go. We want to get the city council approval, and the reason why we're bringing it today is because this is a long lead item for us. We want to get this process going, and then by the time we bring the policy for the test pilot, we would have this, or hopefully we'll have this ordinance in place, and we would not have to wait for this piece to come in order for us to get going on this. On quarter 2 and 3. We want to talk about the funding for us, and then finish up the pilot program, and then develop the full 75 megawatt program details. And then the 4th quarter of the year, we want to roll out the 75 megawatt feed-in tariff program.
And when do you anticipate council needing to approve this this policy?
Sometime in January that they will take it up at the council.
Okay. And what we have submitted is draft language, which of course they have the discretion to change as well.
No, city attorney, as far as changing the language.
It's an ordinance, but they're basically, it's going to reflect the resolution and the draft ordinance that we'll provide.
So if they wanted to do something different than what you present to them, they would have to vote the ordinance down and then send it back to you. So that they can't change it and then adopt it.
Thank you for the clarification.
And that's the end of my presentation.
Thank you. Other questions?
I move to approve.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Barbara takes us to 19, I believe, which we have a speaker card for.
Yes, I have a speaker card for 19. Sally Neubauer.
I believe she's left.
Did she leave? Okay. Sure she's not in the lobby. No? Okay, that was the only card I had for 19 was Sally Neubauer. She doesn't appear to be here.
Staff comments on 19?
We have a presentation if the board wants to see it, or your pleasure.
Does the board have any particular comments or questions on 19?
I move to approve.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 19 carries unanimously. 21. Speaker card?
Yes, I do have a speaker card for 21. The speaker is Mary Strine.
Is Mary here?
Good afternoon, and I thank you for allowing me to speak today. My name is Mary Strine. I represent Western Health, and I'm here with Gary Jones, who's the president of Western Health as well. We submitted a proposal to this RFP, and we did not pass based on the good faith effort due to Factor 9. We're here to oppose this. We feel that we indeed passed this Factor 9 overwhelmingly. And here are the two reasons we were given for our disqualification. It said we did not submit the requisite summary sheet. But I want to bring to the board's attention that there is no requisite summary sheet in the RFP. This sheet was presented to us at the bidders conference, and it was presented to us as an aid, not as a required form to be submitted with our proposal. We did indeed in our proposal submit to the group all of the information that was asked on that form. So the only reason we were disqualified was because we did not actually use the form. The second reason we were told that we were disqualified was that they said that we did a perfunctory outreach and limited our search to our current vendors. This, we feel, is also untrue. We have been servicing DWP for this contract for a number of years. And yes, we have a number of sub-vendors that have already gone through this process in previous years. And yes, we consider them hardworking, dedicated, and have been professional, and need to be considered for this proposal as well. To tell us that we should not consider them is preposterous. It's like telling us that we should turn to them and say, you have to go to the back of the bus. We have others now that we have to consider. This does not make any sense to us. If you look at our proposal, we did indeed place 3 ads in 3 major newspapers soliciting vendors for this project. We also solicited in 15 outreach agencies. Yes,
Please wrap up
we
your
had,
remarks.
Excuse me.
Please wrap up your remarks.
Wrap it up?
Yes, please.
Okay, very quickly. We have indeed 8 vendors that are current with us. There were 6 vendors that we received through the ads. There were 2 additional vendors that we got through our own personal referrals. We feel that the committee made an error here in declining us. We feel that we met the effort of the good faith. We outreached to these sub-vendors. We considered them. We only disqualified 4 of them as being non-responsive. We have not made any choice on what vendors we will use if it is elected that we are allowed to go forward. We asked the committee not to approve this proposal that's before you today. We ask you to tell the Good Faith Committee to move our proposal forward so that the outreach group have more than just one proposal from an out-of-state company to consider. We'd like our proposal to be put side by side so that the committee has 2 good proposals to choose from.
Okay, your time is up.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I'd like to hear from staff on 19.
I have one more speaker card.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Actually, one came in. The next speaker is Karen Seal.
Thank you. I'm Karen Seal from Professional Health Services. I'm our Vice President. I'm here with our President, Michael Kleiman, and we just wanted to state that we did comply with everything in the bid specifications. We're professional. We're a 50-year company, 50-year-old company servicing utilities, governments, municipalities, businesses, in occupational health testing services, and do not see why, we're not quite sure why our bid that was awarded is being questioned now. So I just wanted to say thank you. And if you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer specifics. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a staff presentation on 21?
Shannon Pasquale, HR.
Good afternoon. Anselmo Collins, Acting Director of Supply Chain Services.
I'm going to defer to Mr. Collins as it relates to the issue regarding the GFE issue as it relates to Western Health. If there are any questions specifically about what the contract is and what HR is asking of the contract, I'll be more than happy to answer any of those questions.
Are there any such questions from the commissioners?
Could you address the issue of the summary sheet, please?
Yes. As part of the good faith effort, we have 10 criteria, 10 factors that we evaluate. Factor 9 has to do with the negotiating good faith. And I'll just basically read out what the criteria is. Negotiating in good faith with interested WBEs, MBEs, and OBEs, and not unjustifiably rejecting bids or proposals prepared by any enterprise. As documentation, bidder shall submit a list of all subcontract bidders for each portion of work solicited, including dollar amounts of potential work for WBEs, MBEs, and OBEs. Bidder shall also submit documentation or correspondence regarding subcontract bids from interested WBEs, MBEs, and OBEs, including but not limited to requests by bidders to obtain subcontract bids from enterprises expressing interest, responding subcontract bids or declinations to offer a bid, acceptance by bidder of subcontract bids, and also rejections of subcontract bids, including explanations for non-selection. So the purpose of this is to ensure that when a subcontractor provides a quote to a prime, that he or she, their quote is considered. And we need to see that proof so we can see the evaluation. There are instances where primes will self-perform the work if the work can be done at a lower price to the department, and therefore they would have to show that. So for each one of these subcontracting areas, they need to provide a documentation. When staff reviewed the project and reviewed the proposed contract, there was a lot of information missing. So there was an effort to contact Western Health, and they were asked us a variety of questions regarding some of the information that was missing. The responses to the questions that were proposed by my staff were not answered appropriately. As a matter of fact, there were instances where some of the subs were contacted prior to anything being advertised to the subs. So that showed that they were already contacting certain subs with whom they had worked before, even before anything was sent out to the populace, to everybody else. In addition to that, there was no information that was provided regarding a detailed summary sheet that addresses the issues that I just spoke about. So because of that, the company was given 0 points for factor 9.
Is there a requirement that's stated definitively that there needs to be a detailed summary sheet?
Yes.
From what you were reading from the RFP, I didn't hear the word summary sheet. How is it specifically spelled out that
it talks about
communicated?
Okay, yes, sir. It talks about documentation that needs to be provided. It does not say a summary sheet, sir.
So whether the summary sheet that was passed out at the bidders conference or some other form of documentation is what's required?
Correct. What was passed out at the pre-bid meeting, which both firms that participated in this opportunity attended, that's where it explains exactly what needs to be submitted as part of the bid.
Did Western Health provide any documentation aside from a summary sheet in any form?
They provided some documentation, sir, yes.
Okay, so they were responsive on that point.
To that perspective, yes. Not enough to ascertain that they were actually responsive as far as getting back and really negotiating good faith with all proposed subs.
It's my understanding that the department tries to support local business as much as possible. So can you speak to how this firm ranked in that capacity versus Professional Health Services, which is based in Pennsylvania?
Right now, we do not have a local business preference. This board approved it in November, approved the establishment of a local business preference. As part of that approval, staff requested implementation date of January of 2012. That was to give the Department of Water and Power plus the rest of the city an opportunity to get everything set up properly. Part of that included our procurement system, which is ERSP, requires some changes to be made. Also, we needed to have a certification program established by the Bureau of Contract Administration. They are currently working on that. As a matter of fact, this past week, they've sent out notifications regarding local business preference. So that was not utilized as part of this evaluation.
Mr. Collins, I'm confused about something here. In your letter, your response letter to the protest letter, one of the factors you cited, and this is the letter you signed, quote, Western Health did not provide copies of all the quotes, bids, proposals received from solicited subcontractors, nor did Western Health provide the requisite summary sheet detailing the reasons for selection and non-selection, as indicated in Factor 9. Now, you've already testified here already that a requisite summary sheet is not required. So why did you use that as the reason to deny their protest?
I believe that the language that I read you does not say a requisite summary sheet. It talks about documentation, which is part of what was explained at the pre-bid meeting, where we go into detail of the good faith effort program, and we explain to all the bidders exactly what needs to be done, what forms need to be turned in to ensure that we're able to evaluate all. And that's part of the reason why also staff did contact them afterwards and asked for the documentation, if in fact it was missing, to provide it to us, and they weren't able to do so, sir. So it was followed up with additional inquiries to Western Health.
So, Mr. Pascal, how did Western Health do on its prior contract, the one that's most recently been in existence?
Well, they're the current contractor.
Right. How are they doing?
And, well, they passed everything at that particular point, so 3 years.
No. How was their performance in the contract?
Oh, their performance is fine. We don't have any issues with their performance.
And what was their bid on this contract?
In terms of...
Was it competitive?
It was very competitive, yes.
And I know that with good faith efforts, the goal is to increase, MeBe-Weeby compliance. So could you tell us how...
You just like saying Meeby-Weeby, don't you?
I do. Can you tell us how Professional Health Services did on their Meeby-Weeby participation?
And if I can ask you to compare that to what Western Health's usage of Meeby-Weebies were when they had the existing contract.
I don't have information as far as what Western Health and their current contract. What I can tell you is that for Professional Health Services, as part of this contract opportunity, they have committed to 21% subcontracting. It is divided into WBEs and OBEs. Most of this is with OBEs around 20.8%, and around 1% or 0.1% is with WBEs.
And so how are they doing on minority-owned business enterprises?
I'm sorry, sir. Would you repeat the question?
How are they doing with MEBE?
They had no WBE participation in this contract, sir.
And do we have any anecdotal evidence about Western Health and their MEBE compliance?
I do have some information here. What this shows is that for the year 2011, the participation for OBEs was approximately 11%.
This is for Western Health?
This is for Western Health, correct. Their participation for MBEs was 15.89%. And for WBEs, it was 8.6%.
What would happen if we were to reject this contract today to was it PPH and ask you to rebid the matter?
Well, I mean, obviously the board has the discretion to do that. In terms of practicality, what it means for HR is we're going to have to significantly delay the testing of the employees that we are required to do so by both state and federal mandate.
Why wouldn't you be able to use
a violation there?
I'm sorry, but why couldn't we just use the current contract or extend it or something that will allow Western to continue to work until this process is done in a fashion that's acceptable to the board?
Okay, their contract expires at the end of the month. And so, correct me if I'm wrong, Anselmo, any additional contract extension would have to go to the council?
That is correct. This is a 3-year contract, expires December 31st. It would require council approval to go beyond the 3 years.
General manager doesn't have discretion to
No.
No.
Okay.
No, and at this particular point, we, based on the OSHA regs, both state and federal, we are required to start testing our employees. We have about 4,700 employees that need to be tested for work hazard exposure, so forth and so on. So it will significantly delay our ability to do that.
So essentially, you've put the board in a position where if we don't concur with your recommendation and we're out of compliance with our testing, that needs to be done.
Yeah,
Well,
we could have had a special meeting on December 31st, and you could have asked us then, and then we could have been...
Had even less time.
Had even less time.
Commissioner Holloman, I
Yes.
sense that there could be a potential for litigation in this matter. I'd like to continue this discussion in closed session.
Okay. We will do that.
May I make a suggestion? Perhaps we defer it till when we go into closed session?
We have a
Do the
closed
other
session
matter?
scheduled, so yes, and I can do that without a vote, right? All right,
Okay,
so
that would be acceptable.
So
Thank you.
we will defer this matter to closed session.
Okay.
Thank you. Item 23, Barbara, do we have speaker cards?
No speaker card for 23.
Item 23 is a resolution to approve the pole attachment fee for calendar years 2012, 13, and 14, and a license contract that we would be using with people that want to attach to our utility poles going forward.
I just have one question, which is why I asked for this to be. We're reducing, effectively, to comply with the new statute, we're having to reduce our fee for the
Correct.
poll tax. And I actually went on and looked at the statute, and I couldn't make heads or tails of the formula in there. So I just wanted to have you confirm that, in fact, the $18.55 reflects what the formula works out to be for our polls, or is it a best guess?
Well, it's our interpretation. Power System, Financial Services, and the City Attorney's Office has worked through this. If there's challenges, which is allowed for in the legislation, we'll walk through that with the poll attachers auditors, and they can determine whether we put in costs that they are going to disallow or costs footage or something like that. But this is our best. It's the way we interpret the law with the help of the city attorney, and we think it's appropriate.
Okay. I'm satisfied with that.
Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? 23 passes. Item 24, there's a speaker card.
Yes, I have 2 speaker cards for 24. The first speaker is Dr. Tom Williams.
Dr. Tom Williams, LA 32 Neighborhood Council. Also, over this last weekend, or during the last few days, we've had a water security problem because we had a blowout at the corner of Berkshire and Kendall in LA 32 Neighborhood Council North area. A lot of water was lost, a lot of disruption of the neighborhood. Is this another blowout? We don't know. We had another one on Berkshire just about 300 feet away from this one, so we don't know what's going on. But for water security, strong proponent of it. Need more money for it. So I'd highly recommend to not only have these certain expenditures, but provide some expenditures for maybe 200,000 lineal feet of pipe. Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Tony Wilkinson.
Tony Wilkinson, Neighborhood Council MOU Group. I am assuming that this is, since it calls out the elements of the item 25 that you approved earlier, that the certain expenditures, which I admit I didn't check online, are for that particular water quality adjustment factor. And one of the things I really hope is that the certain expenditures include some element for the water recycling program, which has, as I understand it, been completely put on hold, and I think is really appropriate for this adjustment factor. So I'm hoping that's among the certain items. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was the last card.
Any questions from commissioners on 24?
I move to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. 24 passes unanimously. The chair would like to take items 26, 27, and 28 together. They're all relating to fiber optics contracts. There are no speaker cards on those items, correct?
No, no speaker cards for those.
Thank you. Mr.
Chairman, if I might start, I've been the one who's been sort of reluctant to accept a number of the fiber optic contracts in the past couple of meetings, mainly because of the form. I was objecting to the length of the contracts and also to the formula for the annual escalation. I have had a very productive meeting with staff, and my concerns at this point are resolved because we've agreed that we will deal with it by looking at the board's policy for how we direct staff to implement the fiber optics programs rather than amending the leases themselves. So I'm satisfied with these three.
That sounds like a motion to approve 26, 27, and 28. Yes. Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. I can take those votes together, right? We don't have to. All right. So all in favor. So we have a first and a second for items 26, 27, 28. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those pass unanimously as well, which takes us to item 30, for which we have.
Yes, I do have the speaker cards for item 30. The first speaker is Thomas Daly.
Good afternoon. You know, I listened earlier about the accommodations to the employees. With your approval, Mr. Benjamin, I'd like to convey that message to the field crews of the Lincoln Heights District, the message sent by the commissioners and yourself on the efforts by the overhead crews. I'm a superintendent in the Lincoln Heights District, and I'm here to ask for consideration on evaluation on the decision on my grievances. The people I work with in the field use bad language every now and then. And I have been disciplined along with critiquing on other duties. And ultimately, you know, this is my opportunity and my due process to attempt to resolve this at the department level. And that's what I'm trying to do. Commissioner Parfrey, Commissioner Noonan, I wanted to thank you for the time, and hopefully there was sincere evaluation. Many documents I requested through the California Public Record Acts were not provided for your consideration. Many items supporting my grievances were in those requests. And ultimately, on the initial grievances, I was left with an opportunity to either spend a lot of time with you and walk you through the processes and what happened along the way, or rely on those documents to support my grievances. They were not provided. Ultimately, the one that affected me, that put the skelly in my personnel jacket, was based on language used in a safety meeting, which involves a very large portion of our work with employees communicating to their supervisors with their concerns. I want you to know that in the 30 years I've been with the department, this was a sanctioned safety meeting where our joint labor management teams tell our employees that they can communicate to their supervisors in a manner without discipline or retaliation. I oversaw that communication between a supervisor and his subordinate. The communication was directly between those two. I was held to a level of expectation to draw a line on when it veered out of a safety environment. I want to reaffirm to you I held that line. I sat across from a labor relations representative in our last meeting to hear that I still do not know my job after 30 years. I took that personal. I listened to Mr. Parfrey start the meeting about money. It's not about money. You ended the conversation asking me how often I'm exposed to this. My answer is every day. If we're going to step in and deem to our employees what type of language they can use in a meeting as managers, we need direction, we need assistance, and we need to convey that to our employees in the field, because they don't always use nice words. That gentleman was talking to his supervisor in the language he uses every day. Now, whether I accept that at my kitchen table or you do is irrelevant. That's how he communicates. He was not abusive. He was on a safety topic in a sanctioned safety meeting talking to his supervisor. His supervisor had the situation under control. He was repetitively asked to sit down and control himself. And the next level was security or physical confrontation. And if it would have elevated to that level, I would have reacted. In that situation, I'm the one who ended up with a message in my personnel jacket after 30 years of service here, based on language used in a sanctioned safety meeting when they were told they could speak in a manner they do without discipline or retaliation. The employee wasn't skelly, his supervisor wasn't skelly, I was skelly. That was the final end of that meeting in a situation that I was responsible to control. You also listened to Mr. Kendall about his critiquing on how I leave voice messages on my phone, how I order supplies, and how I handle myself as a supervisor. For the last week, I've supervised crews respond to electrical outages and the restoration of power to the citizens of this city, and we did it successfully without accidents in the Lincoln Heights district, including Commissioner Labange's area in Los Feliz, Highland Park, El Sereno, Cypress, and many other areas. Those employees directly report to me as a superintendent in that district. When we're going to draw a line on profanity and how people talk, if I'm going to be held to an expectation to where I am going to end up with skelly packages in my personnel jackets for not controlling when they use words that may not be appropriate to others, I think as a department, we need to educate, develop, and move our employees and the people in this city in that direction in all of our agencies. Not just Water and Power, and not just Thomas Daly. When people around me are doing it every day, including my managers. It's affected me, my 30-year career, a clean personnel jacket, and now I have something sitting in there in a skelly form that cannot be removed that tells me that I failed to control language in a sanctioned safety meeting. I want to apologize to each and every one of you that I had to meet you under this condition today. This is my first meeting in 30 years in the Commissioner. And I hope to see you shortly for the presentation of my 30-year pen. My request is simple. Please reevaluate your decision, take into consideration the impact to us in the field and how we manage our employees and how we draw the lines supporting you and the people of the city of Los Angeles. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I have one more card on this one. Christina Daly.
Good afternoon. I just have a question to start with. I'm sure all of you have seen Western movies. Is that correct? Well, in the Western movies, there's this one situation where the gunslinger is sitting there and the piano player is playing, and the gunslinger doesn't like what the piano player is playing. So he brings him on over and says, you know what? I'm going to make you dance rather than play the piano. And so he sits there and he starts shooting at his feet. So there goes the piano player. He's trying as hard as he can not to get his feet, shot up. Well, eventually he gets tired and his feet get shot. And I analogize Tom's situation as far as grievance numbers M172-07 and M007-08 to that situation. He could not dance high enough. He could not work hard enough. He couldn't do anything to make Mr. Kendall happy. If it wouldn't have been those situations, it would have been something else. The writing was on the wall in the very beginning. You have a 25-year employee who has a stellar record, all of a sudden goes to a location where clearly the managers don't like him, and he gets disciplined consecutively to the point where he got skellied, which in the Skelly package, it's very interesting because in the supervisors meeting, memorialized in the minutes, it says, this is the discussion that took place. The zero tolerance policy on abusive language, harassment, and discrimination, and not just if it is directed towards another employee. Supervisors that hear any abusive language are to stop it immediately, taken in the context of an EEO situation, not in a closed-door meeting. Then, in the request for discipline, Mr. Kendall writes that he, number one, instructed the supervisors to take action immediately to stop employees from using profanity or other unacceptable language in the workplace. Number two, I instructed them to stop employees using profane or abusive language upon hearing the first profane or abusive word. The supervisors' meeting minutes are attached. Well, the supervisors' meeting minutes don't reflect that at all. So what you have is a situation, Mr. Kendall is trying to cover his tracks. The zero tolerance policy applies to an EEO situation, and you're actually going forward with disciplining somebody, ruining their career, and based on evidence that isn't there. And I know a couple of you are attorneys. If you went into court and presented the supervisors' meeting minutes to support the position that supervisors were instructed to stop profane language at the first instance, it would not support it, because the supervisors' meeting minutes don't say that. So you have no evidence as to the instruction that supervisors were supposed to stop profane language. So in this instance, I think that the Skelly package, which is referenced as M08-08, or I'm sorry, M086-08, be denied, based on the fact that there isn't any evidence that that instruction was given at the supervisors' meeting. And if you presented this to a judge or in a court, the minutes don't support the allegation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there a staff to speak to this issue?
Rose Garcia with the Department of Water and Power Labor Relations Office. Mr. Daly received progressive discipline and resulting in 3 grievances that were filed. The last grievance, which one he seems to be focusing on the most, is a result of progressive discipline regarding his failure to follow his supervisory responsibilities and take action. The last discipline, which is resulted in the last grievance, was Mr. Daly's failure to take action directly after he was told that profanity in the workplace was supposed to stop. Ms. Daly talks about some EEO references. The reality of the EEO reference is that we received EEO complaints about this particular division using profane language, obscenities. As a result of that, management told their supervisors, get a hold of it and stop your employees from using profane language, and stop it at the first instance. While there's indications that it was done, that the supervisory's minutes don't support it, the reality is the supervisor's minutes coupled with the supervisors and the individuals that were there, their testimony, it does support it. That those supervisors were told to take action, and Mr. Daly failed to do so. He was disciplined, and he grieved it.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the commissioners?
Was Mr. Daly ever accused of using profanity?
No, he was accused of failing to carry out his supervisory responsibilities and stopping his staff from using profanity.
Just on this one occasion?
On this occasion, the day after he was told to stop it.
Okay.
Commissioner Noonan or Commissioner Parker?
The one characterization I just want to disabuse Mr. Daly of is that the Scully is ruining his career. It was a pleasure to meet with you and to get to hear your grievances, and it's not my view that your career has been at all ruined by any of the disciplinary action that is taken place. So with that in mind, I would move to approve the item.
Or deny the grievance?
I am moving to approve the item 30, which is to deny the grievance. That's correct.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I just want to assure you, with all of the hours that we spent with you that day, that we spent almost an equal amount in closed session after you left. So we contemplated each grievance, followed up with many questions to staff, and were very, very thoughtful, and in my opinion, very, very analytical and fair about the process. So I do want to just reiterate that we appreciate you coming forward and sharing the concerns that you outlined, and that is something that I and Commissioner Parfrey followed up on and will continue to do so. So with that, I do second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Carries unanimously. Items 31 and 32 will be filed, which moves us to 33, which is closed session.
All right, the board shall publicly report any action taken in closed session and the vote or abstention of every member present thereon in accordance with Section 54 and 957.1 of the California Government Code. What I suggest, perhaps, is we take the matter first that was deferred, maybe go in the other room, and then we're going to have to announce in open session what the decision is, if there is a decision.
Sure.
Fair enough?
Okay.
Correct. We're now in closed session.
Recording.
We are back in open session. We will take up item 21. Do we have a motion on item 21?
Yes, I would move that we deny the contract and place the item, direct staff to place the item out for rebid.
Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All opposed? That carries unanimously. That, I believe, concludes the balance of our open session items for today.
Yes, sir. We'll
And
go
we'll
into
now
closed
back
session
into closed session.
with the same caveat.